What is at stake for AD without LeBron?
Well, there are a couple things. Let me say one. I always thought AD had a chance to be the greatest power forward ever, right? That's Tim Duncan. But given where the level AD was playing early in his career and how many years he'd already done that, once he started winning championships, I figure maybe he can give Duncan a run for his money. And Stephen A., I know they're not power forwards the way like Barkley or Malone were power forwards, but because they also are rim defenders, they're kind of 4-5 hybrids. But still, and Duncan, I thought, is the guy, and AD had a shot at that. Well, stuff like winning championships is really important. And if AD can't keep the Lakers afloat in LeBron's absence, that's going to be harder to do. But I think there's something more immediate in terms of, obviously there are team goals, Stephen A., but the more immediate thing for me in terms of AD, what I want to see from him is when last seen healthy, he was the best big in the game. AD was the best big in the game. And by the way, he proved it against Jokic when Denver got past the Clippers. And Jokic is an MVP-level player last year, right? AD was better. AD's a two-way player. But something's happened since AD's been out. First of all, Jokic has raised his game. Jokic is probably going to win the MVP this year. And Embiid, game for game, has been the best player in basketball this year. He's raised his game. So when AD comes back to the league, when he's getting his legs under him, his sea legs, on the way to the playoffs, hopefully staying healthy and really getting in basketball shape for the playoffs and trying to get in rhythm, it's unclear to me if he's still the best big in the game. That's what I want to see. I want to see AD come back and by the end of this season convince me that that's still the best big in basketball.
Anthony Davis, when healthy, is arguably the best big in basketball. He's certainly in the conversation. He's one of the top 5 players on the planet. This dude is a career 24-10 dude with nearly 2.5 blocks per game. He has never, ever in his 9-year career shot worse than 49% from the field. If I have a concern about Anthony Davis, it's 2 things and 2 things only. Number one, it's his health, because he isn't considered to be the most durable person in the world. Obviously so. Number 2, his three-point shooting has dipped over the last 3 years. Used to be at around 34%, went down to 33%, 32%. This season before he got hurt, he was shooting 29% from three-point range. Okay? That has to change. He's going to have to get better in that regard because, again, you have physical big dudes in the Western Conference, and they know that's the way to get to him. Now, the best thing the Lakers could have done, you got to energize a bunny in Montrezl Harrell now as his teammate. He's no longer a Clipper. He's a Laker. But the other issue is that Andre Drummond, that's a big-time pickup because you got a big boy who's capable of throwing his body around against the Jokic's of the world and others. And so because you have that, now you have Anthony Davis being able to be a spy, helping to patrol the front court, not to mention what he brings to you offensively, and none of those dudes take away from him offensively because they're not looking for the basketball. They'll hit the boards to grab offensive rebounds, create extra possessions. They'll hit the boards on the defensive side of the ball to prevent teams from getting more than one shot, which ultimately gives you more opportunities when you get the ball on the offensive side of the ball as well. So I think we recognize this about Anthony Davis, and I think that with him and LeBron healthy, we all anticipate that they're going to the finals to face the Brooklyn Nets, even though the Philadelphia 76ers and the Milwaukee Bucks swear they'll have something to say about that. I think when you look at Anthony Davis, for me, it's his health, which I'm not convinced he's fully healthy. And the other thing is his three-point shooting, because he would need to hit some of those outside shots. He can't shoot 29% from three-point range and expect the Lakers to do the kind of damage they did last year in the postseason.
Yeah, look, you're talking about what he needs to do in team goals for the Lakers, and that's really what to be concerned about right now. What I'm saying, Stephen A., is you're like, well, he's arguably the best big in basketball, certainly one of them. Yeah, no kidding, right? But is he the best? Because when he got hurt, he was the best big in basketball. If we had to say, oh, who's been the best big in basketball over his career, last 3 years, last 5 years, when last seen, it's AD. It was AD.
Hold on, Molly. Molly, help me out here, Molly. Am I wrong, Max?
Yeah.
I never recalled you calling Anthony Davis that. I recalled saying that. I thought you said the Greek freak And I thought you said Joel Embiid. A matter of fact, there were now you did acknowledge that Anthony Davis had a chance to be the greatest power forward that ever played basketball. But when you talked about bigs, you never had him as the best.
Well,
when did
I
this
certainly
news come
did.
up?
It's a fluid list, but I certainly did. And if it's not the best big, it's because we're defining bigs as centers who get down in the paint like Embiid. There aren't that many more of those guys really left. Giannis, at times, as you know, I had very highly
because
rated.
you had the Greek Freak, and he wasn't that dude. He was never that dude, but you had
Giannis,
the Greek Freak.
I had very highly rated, as
Yes,
you
you
recall,
did.
and you like to remind me.
Yes, you
Now,
did.
and by the way,
Jokic
I
and
still have him
Embiid,
I
but not
still
the Greek
have him very
Freak.
highly rated.
Okay.
I did think, especially after last year's playoffs, what AD and LeBron did, AD was the best big in the game. When last seen best big in the game? Well, okay, we can go back and look. That's what I thought, if you don't remember me saying it.
No,
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
No.
because Jokic and Murray got to the Western Conference Finals where they saw LeBron and AD and showed them what the next level looks like. Okay. The point is, he's coming back to a league where Jokic has raised his game, where Embiid has raised his game. I'll remind you what I told you off the top of the show. Embiid's offensive and defensive ratings plus his usage rate, if the season ended today, he would have numbers no one's ever had. The only other guys on the list with him in the top 5 are Michael Jordan 3 times and KD once. He is having a phenomenal season. He's in the best shape we've ever seen him in. He's on a team with shooters, and that's constructed to help him. And so both ends of the floor, not like Jokic where you go, yeah, offensively maybe he's the best, but what about the defense? And AD's got defense. Embiid's doing it both ends of the floor. No, I need to see AD reestablish himself.
The newly acquired Dennis Schroeder said he intends to start at point guard for the defending champs. The Lakers have not settled upon their starting lineup. Sources told ESPN that Schroeder would consider him starting at the point guard spot. He also could be asked to fill in off the bench. Sources have said that as well. Max, I'll start with you here. How much pressure is on the Lakers to repeat?
I think there's more pressure on the Lakers this season. Yeah, I didn't hear either. I'm sorry. I'm assuming you said me, but I don't know.
Max,
go ahead, Max. Go ahead, Max.
Because Stephen A. didn't. Okay. All right. I think there's more pressure on the Lakers to start this season, to win this season, than there was last season. Like, do you remember before last season that survey of GMs, right? I think it was right before the season started. It was late October or November. Who is most likely to win? GMs, right? So they survey 30 GMs, all the GMs in the league, and they ask who is most likely to win the championship. These people, their living is dependent on knowing this kind of stuff, of evaluating talent. Number 1 was the Clippers. Number 2 was the Bucks. Lakers finished a distant third. They turned out to be wrong. But the perception was going in, the Lakers may not win it this season. And why not? Like, this is the third time LeBron has formed a super team in a location. The first time is he went to Miami, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And then Miller and all these guys, yeah, we want to play there too. They lost the championship year 1. They got there, but they lost. Same thing happened in Cleveland. Oh, they got Kyrie and the number 1 pick. They can flip Wiggins into Kevin Love. I'll go to Cleveland. There's another super team. Year 1, he lost. True, everyone got hurt, but he didn't win the championship year 1. LeBron usually figures that out year 2 because you got to get the details just right. It's hard just to throw guys together and have them win a championship. So I would say the expectation among most who knew was not that the Lakers would win, yet they did. But how about this season, guys? What's the expectation now? A lot of people would say the number 1 and number 2 players in the world are both on the Lakers. They just won the championship, and I think everyone agrees they improved at least on paper in the offseason. Montrezl Harrell and Schroeder and Marc Gasol. So, yeah, there's more pressure now, especially, Stephen A., as you know. You spent enough time in L.A. and have covered the league long enough and have been alive long enough to know. Lakers fans, they get greedy. You know, the reason they want to win a championship is because you can't repeat or three-peat without winning the first one. Now they expect it. So do the odds makers, and I think there's more pressure than ever right now.
Well, for me personally, when I think about three-peat, that's the only time that I'm interested in applying any kind of pressure to LeBron James at this stage and point in his career. He's never done that in his career. He won back-to-backs in Miami. He won 1 in Cleveland. He won 1 with the Los Angeles Lakers. But he's never three-peated like Jordan. He's never three-peated like Kobe. And so because of that, I would like to see that. I don't think that will happen, but then again, you never know with the arsenal that they've put forth. The bottom line is I don't think there's as much pressure on the Los Angeles Lakers to quote unquote repeat outside of that. I think there's pressure on LeBron James to win another chip before he departs from L.A. since he'll have Anthony Davis. And by the way, speaking of Anthony Davis, congratulations to Clutch Sports and Anthony Davis. I don't know why the hell they're in the news for him not signing. It's a 2-year deal, it's a 3-year deal, or it's a 4-year deal. Either way you slice it, you're getting the max. What the hell is all the drama about? Sign the damn contract.
Yeah, just tell them what you want.
Are you really leaving Southern? Are you really leaving Southern California to go to the windy city of Chicago or to the New York Knicks under Dolan, Max Kellerman? I mean, is there really some suspense as to where Anthony Davis is going to go? But they're in the news. I mean, so hey, more power to Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. Major props to them. He's been doing a good job. Here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, when you look at all the moves that the Lakers made, certainly they're the favorites, they're the prohibitive favorites. But Max, I was of the mindset, if you remember, I said the Lakers had to win last year. I'm not trying to say there's no pressure, because of course there's pressure. I'm saying there was more last year than now. The reason why is because I firmly believed if they had lost last year and somebody else, say the Clippers, had knocked them off, all right, or God forbid Denver, okay, then what would have happened was it would have been that much harder for them to ultimately overcome, get over the hump, because there would have been even more pressure to bear on LeBron and Anthony Davis. They would not have won together. Everybody would have been like, what's up, what you gonna do? Meanwhile, those other teams knew how to win. But the fact that that has not happened and the Lakers ended up handling their business in relatively dominant fashion, I might add, the bottom line is because they handled their business the way that they did and they won the chip and they already know how to win together and they've gotten that off. Now they could just go and play basketball, may the best team win. They should be it. Again, there's pressure because they're the prohibitive favorite. But it's nothing compared to what it was last year, because if they had not won last year, it would have been significantly more pressure this season and beyond.
But the reason is, I think there's a problem with that kind of thought experiment. The reason that there's more pressure now is because they didn't lose to the Clippers. They never met the Clippers. They didn't lose to the Nuggets. They didn't lose to anyone. And Stephen A., the truth is, they never really came close, brother. They never really came close. That was kind of an easy championship win. Not that winning any championship is easy, but we've seen teams get to a nail-biter Game 7 along the way, right? Right, they made it look easy. Could someone even take them to a Game 7? No. That was like Jordan on the Bulls type stuff, right? Like, oh, y'all can't even take this dude to a Game 7? Those might be the two best players in the world. So the fact that we now know that they were that much better than the rest of basketball last season, and we all believe they got better, but we don't look at any other team and say, see that team right there? That team was knocking on the door, and they just took a giant step forward. We don't think that about the Clippers. You may think they got marginally better or marginally worse. The Bucks got a little better, but they didn't even get out of the East. Did the Heat get better? Maybe if certain guys improve because they're getting a little older, but no one. We don't see anyone on the, it's not like the Nuggets acquired some major star or something like that. We're like, okay, now what are they going to do? So for that reason, there's more pressure now because we know what the Lakers are supposed to do. The expectations are higher.
Well, again, I disagree. I mean, because the expectations are higher because we're looking at them and some of the moves that they made, and they're the prohibitive favorites. But I look at Denver, one could argue that there's addition by subtraction. Even though we all like Jeremy Grant and he can ball, the fact that he's going to be gone, Bart's going to come back, but you've got Mike